Today, we're really digging into something I think a lot of you grapple with. How to actually get fluent in English.
Right. Not just knowing the rules, but really using it.
Exactly. We've all been there with the textbooks, the lists,
Yeah.
and it doesn't always click, does it?
No, it often doesn't lead to that feeling of, natural conversation.
Well, the sources we're looking at today offer, a really different angle. It's not about these huge study sessions.
Mm-hmm. It's more about small things. Simple, practical habits you can weave into your everyday life. Things you're probably already doing, just shifting them a bit.
So the core idea from these sources is that fluency isn't just this big pile of knowledge.
Precisely. It's more like building a relationship with English, making it part of your world day by day. And yeah, the sources suggest you can do this with really small, consistent steps.
It feels kind of backwards. We always think go big or go home with learning.
Right. But this is saying no, consistent small effort leads to more natural progress. Less pressure, maybe.
Okay, I like the sound of that. So our mission today is to unpack these simple habits, understand, why they supposedly work according to the sources.
And how they can actually help you, the listener, sound more fluent, feel more confident, and just, well, be more natural when you speak English.
By connecting it to your actual life,
Yeah.
not just abstract exercises.
Exactly. And the sources really stress this, is it shouldn't feel like a chore. These habits should become, hopefully, comfortable, maybe even enjoyable parts of the routine.
Okay, let's get into it then. Let's unpack this. What's the very first habit the sources point to? Where do we start?
Right at the beginning of the day. The sources call it morning exposure, and it's super short, like 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay.
Yeah. The idea is you expose your brain to English before everything else jumps in, before the emails, the social media.
Before the day grabs you, like a mental warm-up.
Kinda, yeah. A little English brain stretch. And the exposure itself is simple stuff.
Like what?
Well, the sources suggest maybe listening to a really short English podcast snippet, or repeating a simple motivational quote out loud in English,
Okay.
or even just, thinking through your plans for the day, but doing it in English.
Thinking in English first thing. That sounds potentially tricky if you're not already quite advanced.
It might feel a bit weird at first, yeah, but the sources frame it as crucial brain training. It just gets your mind into that English mode right from the start.
Okay.
And the example they give is really basic, like today I have a meeting at 11 a.m. or I will go shopping in the evening. I need to buy fruits and vegetables. Simple, immediate stuff.
So it's not about complex grammar, just accessing the language for what's right in front of you.
Exactly. The sources suggest fluency actually starts right there, talking to yourself, getting your brain used to forming thoughts in English.
Interesting. So not necessarily starting with talking to others.
Not necessarily, no.
Yeah.
And for people who prefer reading, there's an alternative morning habit.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Reading a short paragraph aloud, maybe from an English news site or a blog you like.
Reading aloud, even if you stumble over words or don't know everything.
Yeah, that's a really key point from the sources. Don't worry about perfection. Don't stop to look everything up. Just read it slowly, feeling the rhythm, the sounds. The sources say doing this tiny thing every day builds familiarity. It makes the act of producing English sounds aloud feel normal, less scary.
Okay, that makes sense. You're literally getting your mouth and your mind used to the shape and flow of English. All right, so morning exposure check. Where do the sources suggest weaving English in next during the day?
Well, they talk about using dead time, basically. Those
Yeah.
moments when you're doing routine stuff.
Like chores.
Exactly. Brushing your teeth, walking, doing the dishes, cleaning the house. You can use that time for listening.
Ah, the classic multitasking for language learning. What kind of listening are we talking about here? Intense lessons.
No, definitely not intense. The sources recommend keeping it light, enjoyable, maybe a podcast about a hobby you have, or a short story, or even just English music.
Music. Even if you don't catch all the lyrics.
Yeah, especially music you kind of know already. Maybe you've seen the lyrics before. The point isn't deep comprehension at this stage.
So it's more about just surrounding yourself with the sound of English. Immersion light.
Immersion light, I like that, yeah. The sources say this constant, gentle exposure trains your ears without pressure. You start picking up common phrases, the melody, the language, the patterns. And they mention this really cool potential outcome that one day something will click and you'll realize that you understood a sentence without translating it in your head.
Ah, that magic moment.
Right. That's when fluency really starts kicking in, according to the sources. That shift away from constant mental translation. This habit helps pave the way for that.
Okay, that's a great call. So we got morning exposure, listening during chores. The next habit seems to build on this idea of connecting English to your actual life, thinking in English.
Yes, exactly. And again, the sources offer a really practical way in because just thinking in English can feel a bit abstract, right?
Definitely.
So they suggest picking one specific activity you do each day. Maybe it's cooking dinner. Maybe it's your walk to the bus stop. Maybe it's cleaning the bathroom. Just one.
Okay, pick one activity, then what?
Then, while you're doing it, consciously describe what you're doing in English as you do it.
Like a little running commentary, either in your head or out loud.
Yeah, either way works. If you're cooking, you might think, or say quietly, okay, I'm cutting the onions now. Wow, strong onions today. Now I'm adding the tomatoes to the pan. Uh-oh, it's sputtering a bit. It smells really good, though.
I see. So you're linking the English words cutting, onions, adding tomatoes, smells good, directly to the action, the object, the sensation, right then and there.
Exactly. The sources really emphasize this. You're training your brain to bypass your native language and connect English straight to the real-world experience. This makes the language feel less like a school subject and more like a tool you can actually use.
And they say this makes the English knowledge stickier, more accessible.
Much more, apparently, because it's tied to your environment, your actions, your senses. It's not just an abstract word on a page.
It feels way more practical than flashcards.
Yeah.
The sources mention a specific little exercise for this too, right? Describing things you can see.
Yes, a super simple but effective one. Just look around the room you're in right now, pick 5 things, and describe each one briefly in English.
Okay, like, this is my mug, it's blue, it has coffee in it, it's a bit chipped. Something like that.
Perfect. Or, that's my plant. It's green. It needs watering. I like having plants. Just simple observations.
And again, this is just for yourself. No pressure, no audience.
Exactly. The sources argue this tiny daily habit builds confidence with using English spontaneously, and it reinforces vocabulary for your immediate surroundings. You're using the language naturally to talk about your world. Low stakes, high relevance.
Okay, this is making sense. Using English internally for description. Now, you said the sources moved towards a really effective speaking habit after this. What was that one?
Repeating short dialogues. This seems to be a real cornerstone in their approach to active speaking practice.
Repeating dialogues,
Yeah.
like from a textbook.
It could be from a textbook, yeah. Or maybe a short clip from a YouTube video, an English learning podcast, even a moody scene you like. The key is it's a short, manageable conversation.
And what do you do? Just read it?
No, it's more active than that. You listen carefully first, then you repeat it, but you're trying to copy everything, the speaker's tone, their speed, the rhythm, the little pauses.
Ah, so you're not just saying the words, you're trying to actually sound like the person speaking, like an actor.
Kind of, yeah. That's the crucial bit. The sources say this trains you to absorb the how of spoken English. You start noticing how native speakers naturally link words together like, what do you want? Instead of, what do you want?
Right, the connected speech.
Yeah, and where they pause, how their voice goes up or down the intonation to show surprise or ask a question or just state something calmly. Stuff grammar books rarely teach well.
It's like learning the music of the language, not just the notes.
That's a fantastic way to put it. And they give a super basic example you could start with. Something like, hi, how are you? I'm good, thanks. What about you? I'm doing well. Are you free this evening? Yes, let's meet at the cafe.
Really simple, everyday stuff.
Totally. The sources argue that repeating these common conversational turns gets your mouth, your tongue, your brain comfortable with forming them quickly.
So the benefit is?
The big benefit they highlight is reducing panic in real conversations. When someone asks you, how are you, or suggests meeting up, your brain doesn't freeze. It's like, oh, I've practiced this pattern. You have a ready-made, natural-sounding response practiced.
That makes a ton of sense. It's like conversational muscle memory.
Exactly.
And this seems to tie into something else, and sources really hammered home the mindset piece, right? Especially about mistakes.
Oh, absolutely vital. They are very blunt about this. So many learners get stuck because they're terrified of making a mistake. Or they feel too shy to speak until they think their English is perfect.
Which is...
Pretty much. Perfection is the enemy here. The sources are crystal clear. Mistakes are not failures. They are literally signs that you are using the language, pushing yourself, and therefore learning.
So the core message is, just open your mouth and speak. Don't wait.
Basically, yes. Speak every single day. Even if it's just repeating those dialogues quietly to yourself or doing the thinking in English habit out loud when you're alone. The sources stress that this consistent use, however imperfect, is the absolute bedrock upon which fluency is built. Forget flawlessness, focus on frequency.
Okay, that's liberating. What about writing? Is there a simple daily habit for that too?
Yes, and it's quite powerful in its simplicity. Keep a small English journal.
Like a diary.
Sort of, but way less pressure. We're not talking long essays here. Just write a few sentences each day.
About what?
Anything, really. What you did that day, how you felt, something you're planning. Simple stuff.
Could you give an example from the sources?
Sure, they give examples like, today I worked from 9 to 5. I had a meeting in the afternoon. I felt tired but happy because I finished all my tasks. Very factual.
Okay.
Or it could be more feeling-based. I'm feeling nervous about tomorrow's interview. I hope everything goes well. Just getting your thoughts down.
How does writing a few sentences help with speaking fluency, though?
It's an interesting connection the sources make. They explain that the act of writing, even just a little bit daily, forces you to organize your thoughts in English. You practice forming complete sentences. You figure out what words you need to express yourself.
In a low-pressure way because no one's listening.
Exactly. And the theory is, as your brain gets better and faster at constructing these thoughts clearly in written English, that skill starts to transfer. Your mind becomes more adept at thinking in English sentences, which makes it easier for your mouth to follow when you need to speak.
Huh. I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah.
And wasn't there an advanced tip for this journaling habit?
Yes. One, they really recommend to maximize the benefit. After you write your short entry, read it aloud.
Read your own writing out loud.
Yeah. It seems so simple, but think about it. In that one action, you're practicing writing, then reading aloud, then speaking your own authentic thoughts and feelings, and even listening to yourself produce English. It's a really efficient little learning loop.
Wow, yeah, that covers a lot of bases. What if you get stuck writing, like you don't know a word or how to spell something?
The sources say don't sweat it. Use a dictionary. Use Google Translate. Use voice typing on your phone to see how it spells a word you say. The goal isn't grammatical perfection on the first try.
It's just expressing yourself.
Exactly. The effort of trying to articulate your thoughts in English is where the real learning happens in this habit.
Okay, got it. So we've covered habits for starting the day, listening, thinking, speaking practice through repetition, and now writing. Let's shift to vocabulary. Most people think, learn lists of words. But the sources push back on that, right?
They really do. They argue pretty strongly against just memorizing isolated words from lists.
Why? It seems like the standard way.
Because, according to the sources, those words rarely stick in your long-term memory in a way that you can actually use them spontaneously in conversation. They just float around disconnected.
Okay, so what's the alternative they propose?
Learning vocabulary in context. Seeing or hearing words used naturally within sentences, within stories, within conversations. That's how your brain makes meaningful connections.
Right, seeing how it actually works in the real world. So how do you turn that into a daily habit? It sounds less structured?
The habit they suggest is actually very focused. Pick just 3 new words each day.
Only 3.
Only 3. But make them useful words. Words you've actually heard or read that day that seem relevant to you. Maybe words like borrow or invitation or repair. Practical stuff.
Okay, find 3 useful words. Then what?
Then comes the crucial step. Write 3 sentences using each word. And don't just write dictionary examples. Actively connect the sentences to your own life, your plans, your experiences.
Can you give an example maybe with the word invite?
Sure, the sources use invite as a great example. You might write, 1, I will invite my friend Sarah to my birthday party next month. 2, did you get an invite to John and Maria's wedding? 3, my neighbor invited me over to her house for lunch yesterday.
Okay, so you're using it in different ways, different tenses, relating it to actual or potential events in your life.
Exactly, you're making it your word, not just a random entry on a list.
And the benefit of doing this daily with just a few words.
The sources argue this builds your active vocabulary, the words you can actually recall and use much more effectively. The words become integrated into your personal language toolkit, so you're less likely to be searching for them mid-sentence when you speak.
That makes sense. Quality over quantity. And there was another related practice mentioned, wasn't there, about describing things in your environment again?
Yes, building on that thinking in English habit, They suggest specifically using English names for objects around you, out loud if possible.
Like in the kitchen again.
Yeah, point to things. This is a spatula. This is the faucet. This is the microwave. Or when getting dressed. These are my jeans. This is my favorite jumper. Where are my socks?
So constantly linking the English word to the physical thing.
Precisely. The sources point out this habit reinforces vocabulary for everyday objects, gives you micro practice in forming simple sentences. This is, these are, and crucially creates strong memory links. It grounds the English language in your physical reality.
Okay, wow. We've covered a lot of ground already. Morning exposure, listening, thinking in English, dialogue repetition, journaling, contextual vocab, describing objects. But you mentioned one earlier that the sources flagged as especially powerful for speaking. Shadowing. Can we dive deeper into that one now?
Yes, definitely. Shadowing comes up frequently in the sources as a high-impact technique, particularly for pronunciation and natural flow.
Remind us exactly what it is again.
It's where you listen to a native speaker, maybe a short audio clip, 30 seconds even, and you try to repeat exactly what they're saying as they're saying it or immediately after, like an echo.
So it's not listen, pause, repeat slowly. It's more simultaneous.
Yes, or with a very, very slight delay. The key is you're trying to match their speed, their rhythm, their intonation, even the way they connect words almost in real time.
That sounds challenging.
It can be at first, but the sources emphasize this is where the magic happens for training your mouth and brain to actually produce the sounds and rhythm of natural English speech. You're physically mimicking the way native speakers talk.
So where do you find material for this?
Anything short and clear, ideally with a transcript or subtitles you can refer to if needed. A bit from a podcast, a scene from a TV show you like, a YouTube tutorial, an audio lesson. Keep it short, 30 seconds to a minute is plenty to start. Listen once or twice first to get the gist.
Okay.
Then play it again, and this time, speak along with it. Don't worry if it's messy at first.
It feels like you're physically training your speech muscles, like going to the gym for your mouth.
That's a perfect analogy. You are building that muscle memory for English articulation patterns. The sources give examples of phrases you could practice shadowing. Something simple like, I can't believe how fast this week went by.
Okay.
Or a short dialogue snippet like, Speaker A, do you want to grab some coffee later? Speaker B, that sounds like a great idea. Let me check my schedule. You try to shadow both speakers.
And the sources suggested recording yourself doing this. Why?
Yes, recording yourself, maybe just occasionally, is a really useful tip they offer. It's hard to judge how you actually sound while you're doing it. Listening back gives you objective feedback.
Ooh, I bet that could be revealing.
It can be. You can compare your version directly to the original audio. You might notice, I'm saying that word too flat, or I'm not linking those words like the speaker did. It helps you pinpoint specific things to work on.
So what's the ultimate payoff from this shadowing habit, according to the sources?
There are a few big ones. It drastically improves your pronunciation and intonation, making you sound more natural. It builds speaking confidence because you get comfortable with the physical act of producing flowing English speech. And crucially, it helps bridge the gap between understanding English and actually speaking it smoothly and automatically.
So putting all these habits together, morning exposure, listening, thinking, repeating, writing vocab, shadowing. What does this tapestry look like? How do the sources connect these dots to the bigger concept of fluency itself?
That's a great question. We started by saying fluency isn't just grammar rules or a huge vocabulary list. So how do the sources redefine fluency in light of these practical daily habits?
Yeah, what's their definition?
Consistently, across the materials, fluency is framed not as perfection or speed, but as the ability to communicate your ideas clearly and smoothly.
Good.
Confidently and crucially, without stopping too much to grope for words or mentally translate sentence structures. It's about achieving a certain flow, an ease of expression.
Right, not being perfectly grammatical necessarily, but being understood without meaningful pauses.
Exactly. And to achieve that flow, the sources circle back to the importance of input. You need a steady stream of real natural English coming in.
Which ties back to the listening habits we talked about.
Yes, but they also emphasize making dedicated, even if short, time for consuming English media daily. Maybe 10-15 minutes of actively watching or listening.
And the key is making it something you actually like.
Absolutely crucial. If you hate it, you won't stick with it. Choose stuff you'd watch or listen to anyway, just do it in English. A vlog about gaming, a cooking show, a travel documentary, a simple animated story.
So, enjoyable input. And they had a tip about subtitles.
Yeah, watch with English subtitles first, maybe. Then, try watching the same short clip again without subtitles. See how much more you catch the second time. This regular exposure, the sources argue, builds your listening fluency and helps you internalize those natural speech patterns we talked about with shadowing.
It feels like all these habits are interconnected, feeding into each other.
They absolutely are. And the sources link this input idea to a specific comprehension practice, too.
Which is?
Listen to a short paragraph or story, maybe someone describing their trip to the market, meeting a friend, watching a movie. Simple narrative stuff. Then, later, try to summarize the main points in your own words, either spoken or written.
So you're processing the meaning in English and then retelling it in English without going back to your native language.
Exactly. That practice trains your brain to operate in English understanding concepts, sequencing events, and then formulating your own sentences about them. It's a direct move away from word-for-word translation, which is a major bottleneck for fluency.
Looking at this whole suite of habits, the morning routine, the listening while doing chores, the thinking, the repeating, journaling, vocab work, shadowing, the input, none of them seem to demand like hours and hours a day.
No, and that's perhaps the most encouraging message from these sources. They relentlessly stress that consistency trumps intensity, meaning you don't need to carve out a daunting 2-hour study block every day. That's often unsustainable. Instead, aim for maybe 15, 20, or 30 minutes of focused, active practice using one or two of these habits.
Okay.
Combine that focus time with the more passive listening integrated into your day. That consistent daily engagement, even in small doses, is what builds fluency gradually, naturally, and comfortably.
So it's not about one giant leap. It's about lots of small, steady steps.
Precisely. Fluency isn't a destination you suddenly arrive at after one amazing lesson, according to these sources. It's something that emerges from the cumulative effect of these daily moments of connection with the language. It's built brick by brick, habit by habit.
Okay, that feels much more manageable. Now, the sources acknowledge that real conversation is obviously important for fluency. But what if finding a conversation partner every single day is, well, difficult or impossible?
That's a very real scenario for many learners, and this is where the sources double down on the power of self-talk.
Talking to yourself again. Does that really work?
They are adamant that yes, it absolutely does. If you don't have a partner, talking to yourself ideally out loud when you can is a completely valid and effective technique for practicing spoken fluency. It's used by learners all over the world.
So just narrating your life out loud.
Pretty much. Keep it simple. Okay, time to make dinner. What should I have? Maybe pasta? I need to boil water first. Or, right, I'm leaving the house now. Got my keys. Yep. Phone. Yep. Okay, let's go.
Just verbalizing the mundane.
Exactly. It keeps the English-speaking part of your brain active. And the sources suggest a specific tool to make this even more effective.
Which is?
Using your phone's voice recorder.
Recording your self-talk.
Yeah. Just record yourself talking for 1 minute, maybe summarize your day, describe your plans for the evening, talk about a movie you watched. Just 1 minute.
1 minute feels very doable. Then what? Listen back.
Yes, listen back. This is where the learning happens. You'll hear where you hesitated, where your pronunciation was maybe a bit unclear, if you repeated certain words too much, or if a grammar structure felt awkward.
Like being your own coach.
In a way, yes. It gives you concrete feedback without the pressure of a live conversation. The sources say this habit builds comfort with hearing your own voice in English and boosts confidence immensely, even if you're mostly learning alone.
That's clever. And didn't the sources also have that fun little exercise about describing an object in detail, linking back to self-talk?
Yes. Pick any object around you, a chair, a lamp, your water bottle, anything, and just start describing it in English, out loud.
Going beyond just naming it.
Yeah, go into detail. This is my chair. It's made of dark wood. The seat is covered in blue fabric. It's quite comfortable. It swivels around. One of the arms is a bit scratched, actually.
So you're pulling in vocabulary, descriptive words, sentence structures.
All spontaneously. It practices fluency in describing things, builds vocabulary related to physical objects, and again, strongly connects English to your immediate, tangible world. It makes the language real.
What about pronunciation specifically? We touched on it with shadowing, but do the sources suggest focusing on it separately within these daily habits?
They do integrate it, yes. While stressing that perfect native-like pronunciation isn't the end goal, clear communication is, they do recommend dedicating just a few minutes each day to conscious pronunciation practice.
Focusing on what?
Maybe specific sounds that are tricky for learners from your language background. The classic example is the sound in English, think, three, that. The,
Right.
the sources suggest isolating that sound. Practice saying words with it slowly. Maybe look in a mirror, feel where your tongue is, how the air flows, just drilling that specific sound for a minute or two.
And what about the overall sound, the rhythm and melody of English?
Sentence stress and intonation. Yes, the sources call this the musical part and say it's really important for sounding fluent.
How so?
Well, in English, not all words in a sentence get equal emphasis, right? Some words are stressed, louder, longer, higher pitched because they carry the main meaning. Others are reduced, spoken quickly and softly.
Like your earlier example, I want to go to the market. One, go, market, get the stress.
Exactly. And getting that rhythm right makes your English sound much more natural and is actually easier for native speakers to understand.
So how do you practice that daily?
Two main ways suggested. First, actively listen for it when you consume English input, notice which words pop out. Second, consciously try to imitate that rhythm when you do your speaking practice, whether it's repeating dialogues, shadowing, or even just talking to yourself. Just paying attention to it for a few minutes daily makes a big difference over time.
It seems like confidence is a thread running through all of this. How do these habits help build that, especially if you're shy or afraid of errors?
Confidence is presented as absolutely key, almost inseparable from fluency itself. The sources directly tackle that fear of mistakes.
What do they say?
They basically say, get over it, easier said than done, I know, but they remind you that every fluent speaker started exactly where you are now. They all made mistakes, they all felt awkward or nervous sometimes.
So what made the difference for them?
Consistency and mindset. They didn't let the fear stop them from practicing daily. They believed, or learned to believe, that they could improve. They kept using the language, imperfections and all. That persistence built both their skill and their confidence.
So the advice is not to wait until you feel confident, but to build confidence through the daily actions.
Exactly. The sources are big on building confidence through small, achievable goals. Tiny wins.
Like what?
Like, okay, today my goal is just to speak 3 sentences out loud in English. Or my goal is to write 1 comment on an English YouTube video. Or shadow for just 5 minutes.
Really small steps.
Yes, because when you achieve that tiny goal, you prove to yourself, hey, I did it. I used English today. That little success builds momentum. String enough of those tiny wins together, day after day, and your confidence naturally grows.
And shadowing was mentioned again as being particularly good for confidence.
Yes, because it directly tackles the feeling of speaking fluently. When you shadow, you're physically producing a smoother, more natural-sounding English, even if it's just imitation at first. That experience helps break down the mental barrier and makes you feel more capable.
So maybe shadowing simple, positive sentences could help.
Absolutely. The sources suggest finding simple sentences you like. It's a beautiful day outside. Or even affirmations like, I am getting better at English every day, I feel more confident speaking. And just practice shadowing those, focusing on a smooth, clear delivery. It wires that positive feeling and fluent sound together.
That's interesting. The sources also talked about bringing emotion into it, not just facts.
Yes, making an emotional connection. Language isn't just for transactions. It's how we express who we are, how we feel. The sources suggest making a conscious effort to use English to describe your feelings daily.
How would that look in practice?
Simple things like in your journal or self-talk. I feel really excited about the weekend, or, I feel a bit stressed about that deadline, or I felt happy when I spoke to my friend earlier.
So connecting English vocabulary to your actual inner state.
Exactly. It makes the language much more personal, more deeply integrated. It moves beyond just functional communication into real self-expression, which is a huge part of feeling truly fluent. And building on that idea of expression, another powerful habit the sources highlight is storytelling.
Telling stories, like whole narratives.
Short ones. Doesn't have to be epic. But practicing telling short stories, maybe a memory from your childhood, something funny that happened yesterday, or even just making something up, is presented as really essential for developing speaking fluency.
Why is storytelling so important?
Because it forces you to use language in a more extended way than just single sentences. You have to sequence events, use past tenses correctly, bring in descriptive words, maybe use different tones of voice. It pulls together a lot of skills naturally.
So maybe retelling a simple memory, like about getting a pet. Or just describing your rainy walk to work this morning.
Perfect examples. Doing that regularly, even just for a minute or two, builds your ability to speak coherently and engagingly for longer stretches.
Okay. And wasn't there a slightly more fun habit mentioned? Something musical?
Ah, yes, singing. The sources suggest singing along to English songs is actually a brilliant and enjoyable way to boost fluency.
Really? How does singing help?
Well, think about it. When you sing along, you're naturally practicing pronunciation in a connected flow. You're absorbing sentence structures and vocabulary, often including common idioms and casual expressions you wouldn't find in textbooks.
And you get the rhythm, too.
Exactly. You internalize the rhythm and melody of English without even thinking about it. The tip is to pick songs that are relatively clear and maybe not too fast, at least initially. Listen, read the lyrics, then belt it out.
Okay, I can see adding that in. Now, with all these different habits potentially floating around, journaling, shadowing, singing, thinking in English,
Yeah.
how do you keep track? How do you stay motivated? The sources mentioned a review habit.
Yes, a simple but crucial habit. A regular check-in or review.
How often?
It could be super quick, just a minute at the end of each day, or maybe a slightly longer reflection once a week, say on a Sunday evening.
And what are you reviewing?
You just ask yourself a few simple questions. What English did I actually use today or this week? Listening, speaking, reading, writing. Did I learn any new words or phrases that stuck out? What specific practice did I manage to do, even if it was just 5 minutes? Did I notice any particular mistakes I kept making or areas I felt weak in? And importantly, what small goal did I achieve? What felt like progress?
So it's part tracking, part reflection, part self-encouragement.
Precisely. This habit builds self-awareness about your own learning process. It helps you see the tangible results of your daily efforts, which is incredibly motivating. It highlights the tiny wins and reinforces the idea that fluency isn't magic. It's the result of consistent, conscious effort.
It really seems the overarching theme tying all of this together is integration, doesn't it? Making English less of a separate study subject and more just part of the day.
Absolutely. The ultimate aim presented in these sources is to transform your daily life into your English learning environment. Your kitchen becomes a place to practice food vocabulary. Your commute becomes listening time. Waiting in line becomes a chance to mentally describe your surroundings in English.
These little moments, they really add up.
They argue that these tiny integrated moments are potentially more powerful in the long run than sporadic, intense study sessions because they make English a constant living presence in your mind and environment. You're not just studying English, you're living it bit by bit.
Okay, so if we zoom out now, try to synthesize this whole deep dive. What's the absolute core message you take away from these sources about achieving fluency through habits?
I think the most powerful message is one of empowerment and practicality. It's that there isn't some secret, complicated, perfect method you have to find. The best way to learn English is the way that actually fits into your real life and that you can stick with consistently, day after day.
And these habits we've discussed, the morning exposure, the listening, the self-talk, shadowing, journaling, etc., they work because they're designed to be flexible and fit into those pockets of time in a normal day.
Exactly. They're realistic. They don't demand hours you don't have. They emphasize that staying connected to the language daily, even in small ways, is what truly counts.
5 minutes of speaking here, 10 minutes of writing there, listening while you do laundry, it all genuinely moves the needle.
Yes. And each small habit you build makes the next step, the next habit, feel a little easier, a little less intimidating. It creates this positive cycle.
So fluency isn't this far-off destination you passively wait to arrive at.
Not at all, according to these sources. It's an active state you cultivate. It's a habit you build, and, crucially, a tool you use, starting today, however imperfectly.
Right. So to wrap up, these sources really paint a picture of fluency being built through simple, consistent daily actions that connect English to your real life, boost your confidence, and make the language feel natural.
It's a very hopeful and actionable perspective, I think. Less about inherent talent, more about smart, sustainable habits.
Definitely. Okay, so here's a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on, really drawing from the heart of what these sources suggest. If fluency isn't really a destination you reach, but more like a muscle you build through daily exercise, what one small habit, just one thing from our discussion today, will you commit to integrating into your life, starting right now?
Yeah, what's one thing you can do today or tomorrow morning to make English feel less like a subject you have to study and more like a living, breathing part of your world?
Just pick one. Maybe it's thinking about your dinner plans in English tonight. Maybe it's shadowing one sentence from this deep dive. Maybe it's singing along to one song on your commute tomorrow.
Take a moment, choose one small step, and just begin. That's the core message. Start using English as the tool it is, enjoy the process, and trust that those small daily actions will build into something truly significant.